So Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode 4. Overall, it's a pretty good episode. I've already talked about the plot synopsis and I pretty much followed that. Ravi is still in love with Roxy and wants they find a way to get her good. So Roxy tricks her, takes advantage of it being Valentine's Day, and she says, "Hey, I'm good again, please believe me," and Ravi does. He falls for it and Roxy plans on turning him into a digital avatar. And this plot is pretty much wrapped up within the first 10 minutes, so that's very quick pacing. I mean, within the first 3 minutes they fight the monster of the day, but he gets away, and then they move on to that plot where Roxy tricks Ravi, and then by the 12-minute mark, by like the first commercial, it's already saying, hey, Roxy tries tricking him, and then they fight the monster of the day, and then they summon the Zords. And that's the only thing that dragged in the episode, was the Zord battle. I mean, I had to fast forward through it because I kind of knew they'd destroy the monster. Overall, it was a pretty good Zord battle because I did rewind it at the end just to see how it would go down. But the Zord battle and the battle on the ground between Ravi, Zoe, and the shovel monster felt like it was dragging a little bit, but overall it was a pretty good episode because the pacing felt really nice, even though it slowed down during the Zord battle. Overall it was pretty good, and it wasn't much of a filler episode because at the end it had consequences for Ravi's actions. I mean, it wasn't, oh, I'm silly and I won't be fooled next time. No, him being foolish and falling for Roxy, thinking that she's good again, actually had consequences, and the bad guys might have some sort of heads up in this battle against the Rangers. We don't know what it is, but we'll find out eventually. So what exactly did the bad guys get away with? Well, if you watched the episode, you know what I'm talking about. It was the neutralizer, or some sort of weird tech mumbo-jumbo that Nate was talking about. Well, what it was the thing that turned Roxy and Blaze into the avatars in the first episode, and it was also what turned our three Rangers into Rangers in the very first episode as well. So it was that little device. So it's a little hook thing, or a little, I don't know what it is, it's a weird looking prop, but they plug it into a laptop and they try turning Ravi into a avatar. But I thought that they would actually not get away with this device, they would actually get it back in the end. But Roxy was actually smart enough to teleport away with the device, and Scrozzle gets it. He takes all the credit for it, Scrozzle being a little sneaky son of a bit. He actually takes credit saying, yeah, this was all my doing, don't trust Blaze and Roxy, they're useless, this was all me, and I'll find something useful out of this. What that is going to be, no idea, but I would like to know, because Scrozzle he's very manipulative and he's very cunning, and the thing is, he's cowardly, manipulative, and cunning, and we know he's scared of this thing that was mentioned back in the second episode. I can't remember what the monster was called, but he's scared of that. But I get the feeling that he doesn't want to help Evox. He wants to get some sort of advantage against this thing that he's hiding from in the cyber dimension. Also, Nate had some interesting character moments, because at the start of the episode he was buying flowers for Zoe, but because he was in the battle where the monster attacked, the commanding officer said, we can't really afford to lose you, Nate, you're valuable, you're our tech guy, if something happens to you, what are we going to do? So from now on you've got a buddy system. So I get the feeling that Nate, when he goes out, if they imply this into future episodes, because if they stick by this when we see Nate out and he's got a ranger with him, or a friend out there with him, probably like Ben and Betty out there with him, he's going to have the buddy system. Who knows what is going to happen, but I get the feeling that Nate is going to have a buddy system until a certain thing happens to him. I'm not going to spoil it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If not, I'll put a little card on the video that's going to have spoilers if you want to click on it. But we get the feeling that, well, I get the feeling that Nate is going to have a buddy system for a few more episodes until that important thing happens to him later down the line. But that fight in the park with these shovel monster attacks, that was some of the coolest unmorphed fight sequence we've gotten so far. I mean, all the unmorphed fights in Beast Morphers have been pretty cool with the fight choreography and stuff like that, but this one was really cool. You see Ravi doing flips, you see Zoe like running up a playground or a little bridge, I don't know where it was, it's sort of like a little bridge playground, but she's running up there, she's doing jumps around the barrier, that was really cool. Devin's jumping up on a little platform and he's kicking the Tronics away. The unmorphed fight sequences are really cool, and they're making them more interesting than the morph fight sequences, because from what I've heard, and I've said this plenty of times, they filmed a lot more original footage than they have for Ghostbusters, because they want to use more original footage than Sentai footage, and I get the feeling that is actually showing with Beast Morphers. Also, Ben and Betty were very underused this episode. They barely made any appearances. Well, they did make an appearance. They made an appearance at the start of the episode and at the end of the episode, and if this was like an older episode, like maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe back in Samurai, we would have seen them a few times, with them being the B-plot with their comedic antics. But no, we saw them at the start of the episode. A bee got into Grid Battle Force, and then at the end of the episode they're trying to catch the bee, and then they get stuck to the giant paper with honey on it. Like, that was all that we saw them. I mean, if this was like an older episode, like maybe a few seasons ago or maybe a few years ago, we would have had probably like a whole B plot dedicated to them trying to catch this bee. But no, it was used really well and quite few frequently. I mean, I'd like seeing Ben and Betty. They get a chuckle out of me whenever they're on screen, but they were very underused in this gag, and I thought we would be seeing more of them, but we didn't. But they're still funny. I get a laugh out of them. So Power Ranger Beast Morphers episode 4. Overall, it's a pretty good episode. Ravi did act dumb, but that was probably out of love. Scrozzle's plan moving forward, I can't wait to see what he's got planned, because Scrozzle is a sneaky little dude, and I can't wait to see what his plan is moving forward. We'll have to keep an eye on him, because I get the feeling he can't be trusted. But overall, it's a pretty good episode, and I'm excited to watch it next week. So that pretty much wraps up the review. Anyways, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next week for episode 5's review.
I'm a shapeshifter at Boost Masquerade, heart in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, chained down to my core. Please don't take off my mask, my place to